Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. How are you? I hope you are always healthy and in good condition. The first, let me introduce myself. My name is Rizqi Ardiansyah. I'm a student of the Elementary School Teacher Education Program at Nusa Putra University. And here, I will do a presentation of a scientific paper have I made a few days ago as a fulfillment of a business English semester final exam project. And before I start the presentation, I will share screen before. Here is my slide. Wait for a second. Okay, the theme from my paper is about education with the title Social Impact of the Spread of the COVID-19 Virus on Learning Activities of Chibogo State Elementary School students. And this is the abstract. The purpose of this research is to find out how teaching and learning activities at Chibogo Elementary School are currently taking place. As we all know, all forms of the community activities are now limited to the COVID-19 virus pandemic. The field of education is no exception, where education is one of the main focus of every nation in life to obtain prosperity in the future. Of course, this problem cannot be left alone. A solution is needed so that our national education can continue to run as it should. Although, in reality, there are many problems that often occur in education during this pandemic. One of them lies in the transition of the mechanism of or systems of teaching and learning activities which originally come from direct activities face-to-face at school, changed to indirect distance learning. The solution given in overcoming the problem is the learning method. The learning method is an education system or concept that utilizes information technology in the teaching and learning process. Thus, students are meant to be able to study anywhere and anytime without having to go to school. This research was conducted by research method qualitative descriptive and research method literature review. Research method qualitative descriptive, that is research that intends to understand the phenomena of what is experienced by research subject by means of the description in the forms of words and language in a natural context and utilizing various scientific methods by Mulong 2013. And research method literature review or literature study, namely research by reviewing various reference sources obtained from books, journal, or scientific articles, either from print media or online media. The result of this study are to analyze how the social impact caused by the spread of the COVID-19 virus on teaching and learning activities of Chibogo Elementary School students and how to respond to it, so that the activities and goals of national education can continue to be carried out as they should. Now, introduction. The COVID-19 pandemic, which first appeared in Wuhan, China, and then spread to Indonesia around March 2020, has led to a shift in the national education system in Indonesia. Education that was previously conducted face-to-face with teachers in schools is now diverted into an online learning system and conducted at home only. This creates a bad impact as it hinders the running of the educational process and learning for students of Chibogo Public Elementary School. Therefore, in this scientific paper, we will write about what has happened to the student of Chibogo Public Elementary School and its surrounding environment, as well as how the solution of it for the sake of the continuity of the education that is feasible and in accordance with the national educational objective for the student of Chibogo Public Elementary School, namely to educate the life of the nation. As we know, that elementary school students are the future youths of the nation who are expected to be able to bring about better change to the country. Now, research methods. The type of research method conducted are qualitative descriptive research and and library study research. But studies were conducted to uncover how the impact of the spread of the COVID-19 virus on the world of education, especially in Chibogo State Elementary School, located in uh, Kampung Gunung Jati, Cikahuripan Village, Karudampit District, Sukabumi Regency. Mulong 2013 said that qualitative descriptive research is research that intends to understand the phenomenon of what is experienced by the subject of the study by means of description in the forms of words and language in the natural context, and make use of various scientific methods. This study is pursued fundamental, in-depth, and process-oriented on and based on the assumption of dynamic reality by Mujahir, 1992. The subject of the study were the villagers, both parents, teachers, and children. The data collection technique used in this study are interview, observation, and documentation. Then, libraries study research is all effort made by research to gather information relevant to the topic or problem that will or is being researched. The information can be obtained from scientific books, research reports, scientific paper, thesis and dissertation, rules, status, yearbook, encyclopedia, and writing source, both printed and on other electronic. The research information for this writing is obtained through articles and scientific journals. Reply study is an activity that cannot be separated from a study. The theories underlying the problem and the file to be studied can be found by conducting a library study. The literature study contains systematically about the study of literature and the result of of the previous research and that has to do with the research to be conducted and attempted to show the current condition of the field of science, the state of the art. Result. Based on the information I get from the result of research conducted on the related villagers, Kampung Gunung Jati, Cikahuripan Village, Karudampit District, Sukabumi Regency, the community said that they have difficulty arranging children to be able to learn during this pandemic because the school is closed, so children are required to study at home with an online learning system. This is particularly burdensome for parents who have children who sit in primary school. Juendi, 47 years old, one of the villagers of Gunung Jati village, said that this pandemic brings social problems to children from time immemorial. Elementary school Elementary school children's day were a time when children knew the surrounding environment and adapted directly to it. Thus, children are free from the use of gadget at an early age. However, to the transition of education in the online system, this forced the community, both parents and students, to unite with gadgets or media information and communication in their daily life to meet the learning needs of children. Of course, this will change the habits as well as shown to the history of children who should be decorated with the atmosphere of the surrounding environment that is various things into a childhood filled with gadgets. From the table, seven out of 10 parents who have children who are still in elementary school are agree if the impact of, of the spread of the COVID-19 virus has a big effect on their child's learning activities that lead to negative things, such as children becoming lazy and more interested in playing gadgets to play games than to learn. This proves that negative issues concerning the impact of the COVID-19 virus on the world education are true. Now we going to discussion. The first is switching learning system to online. Before e-learning caused by the COVID-19 virus pandemic, the learning model used was face-to-face learning between student and teachers directly in one class. This is accordance with the research of Putria, Maula, and Aswatun 2020 that the learning process is an interaction activity between teacher and student in the classroom. In the process, learning involves learning and the teaching activities that can determine students' such success and to achieve educational goals. However, after the pandemic finally spread to Indonesia, the learning system was diverted to the online system. For students and teachers, this is a new era in education. With such an emergency, the government made a rule with the temporary dismissal of teaching and learning activities, no exception in elementary school, because children are one of the vulnerable groups to be infected with the COVID-19 virus. Thus, all of teaching and learning activities that are normally conducted face to face are then diverted to convert into a learning system when students get learning from national television such as TVRI and supported by tasks and learning provided by teacher through on learning online. Now the impact of learning system. A against the teacher. Teachers must be proficient proficient in using internet technology or public media that become learning vehicles. Some senior teachers are not yet fully able to use devices or facilities to support online system activities and need mentoring and training first. The competence of teacher is in the use of technology. Our theology will suggest the quality of teaching and learning events. School holidays are too long, thus making the teacher become frustrated, considering that usually teachers are also used interacting with their friends at school. Being to our parents. Economic disruption due to the additional cost of purchasing gadget and internet quota, because online learning can only be done if it accompanied by such a device. Parents should spend more time with their children to accompany them when learning online, and it is difficult to organize and guide the child because parents themselves. because parents themselves sometimes do not understand the current learning system. And see again to students. Students feel compelled to learn long distance without educate, adequate facilities and infrastructure, making students have to adapt to new changes. It's not easy. Makes students experience saturation, loss of social souls because of the difficulty of interacting with others. What's more, for elementary school children, especially grade 1 until 3, are still in desperate need of extra assistance in teaching and learning. It is feared the children will have a black future due to the bad habits of changing times. Now, the impact of spread of the COVID-19 virus on the learning activities of Chibogo public elementary school children. As it is now known that its online learning system is done remotely has led to obstruction of their supervision that teacher must do due to students, causing some negative impact to students of Chibogo Public Elementary School, such as the loss of responsibility of Chibogo Public Elementary School children will be school because they feel every day is a holiday, spend more time playing online game of the king willingly, the daily tasks they were supposed to do would instead done by their parents. In fact, parents have their own business to meet the needs of family life. And last change, attitude and morals are increasingly not helped because of the difficulty of shaping their character in times of pandemics like this. Next, attitude change that happened to Chibogo State Elementary School students after the pandemic began. Although online learning system also have a positive impact on the community in the educational environment, such as increasing ability to use technology, the negative impact is also no less worrying, especially in elementary school children. Their personality or character becomes the main target that is threatened with eroding. In Kampung Gunung Jati, where the children attend Cibogo elementary school age, children who actually learn to know and adapt to the surrounding environment are now nowhere to be seen. Unlike in assist time, uh, where children their age used to unite with nature and the community environment to learn the side of life. It can be said that today's children tend to be closed. In a sense, they refuse to socialize. They prefer to dive into the world of gadgets rather than the natural environment. In almost all homes, primary school children are more likely to be seen playing alone every day than they are studying. Although this is because the school is closed, however, it should still be their duty to learn it fulfilled. However, the facts are counterintuitive. The responsibility into who began to be put upon even pre-collapse to almost no rest. Now, finally, we got a conclusion. The COVID-19 virus pandemic led to the transition of the learning system to the online system or PGG. This system is considered less effective in educating students of Chibogo Public Elementary School. This is because of the various adverse effects on them. Their sense of responsibility to learn some of the to have been lost because the school is constantly being disrupted. being dispersed. Although, in reality, they still have to study at home. However, they were, they were, their way of thinking is still in accordance with their early age. Sure, when at home, they would prefer to play rather than learn. In contrast to school, where they can find a fun atmosphere of learning which teacher and their parents with the necessary facilities to support their learning needs. Little by little, the personalities of Chiboga Public Elementary School students began to get carried away in a negative direction. Their concern for education is diminishing. All they have in mind is now just playing and playing. Parents also have difficulty overcoming this, considering the themselves are so confused about having to educate and help their child learn in that way, because they themselves also do not understand the learning system now. Meanwhile, those who are now in charge of performing the duty of teacher in school to educate and teach children. Therefore, a solution is needed to prevent the problem of changing attitude that are getting worse of students of Chibogo Nation Elementary School because the online learning system has proven to be less effective. Citing the adverse impact on students of Chibogo Nation Elementary School, the steps that can be taken are very limited. There are only about two or three things, including first, reactivating the learning system as it was before by complying with strict health protocols. Two, divide the school schedules in turns into one class divided into two groups. For example, in a week, each group is allocated 3 days for school. And last three, teacher as teacher voluntarily open a study room for the children of Chibogo Nation Elementary School in their homes. And this is my the reference from my paper. I have about 20 or 30 20 or 12 I'm sorry, I have 12 or 13 reference here, and let's finish. Okay, maybe that's all from me as presentation for project final exam business English. I'm sorry for all my fault in this presentation because I still learn and learn, and thank you for the attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.